All right, welcome back and welcome to Proverbs 14. We are going to look at a few verses here, and we're going to start with verse 4. It says, "Where there are no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come by the strength of the ox." And so this proverb is talking about something we've talked about a lot, and that's hard work versus laziness, or maybe in this case, the presence of work versus the lack thereof. And so basically what this is saying is, in this context, if you have a clean manger, you don't have any oxen, because if you have oxen, there's going to be a messy manger. And if there are no oxen, then you're not doing any farming. And if you're not doing any farming, then you're not going to be getting any crops come harvest time. Again, kind of the idea here is that hard work is accompanied by a mess. Now, it's not always animal waste. That can come in a lot of different forms. I don't know if anybody watching this, works in a coal mine, but if you're working in a coal mine, generally you come out looking a little filthy. Or if you do any kind of manual labor by any chance, it's going to be accompanied by calluses on your hands. Or if in the 21st century, if you're working hard on the computer, it's going to be accompanied by sore wrist, maybe carpal tunnel or something like that. But really the idea here is that, hard work is accompanied by, a mess of some sort. And that's okay. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. If I were to tell you, oh, I've been working hard, out in the garden all day long, if you didn't see dirt under my fingernails, or if you didn't see, calluses on my hands or anything like that, and I looked, kind of like clean, you might be like, are you sure you've been working in the garden all day? Because it doesn't look like it. Maybe I've been working on my tan by the garden, but so it's just kind of again, hard work is accompanied by a mess, which is a good thing. Let's move on to verse 7. It says, "Leave the presence of a fool, for there you do not meet words of knowledge." And so this one's pretty self-explanatory. I think it's kind of funny though, where basically Proverbs is telling us, hey, get away from the fool, because there's nothing to, there's no wisdom there, there's no knowledge there. You're going to learn something, but it's not anything productive necessarily. Or you may learn how to not do things, how to not talk to somebody, or how to not do whatever that thing is. So Proverbs says there's no value in their words. So get out while you still can. Verse 17 we'll look at. It says, "A man of quick temper acts foolishly, and a man of evil devices is hated." When it comes to your personality, are you short-tempered? Are you short-fused? Because your Proverbs is talking about you here. It says that you act foolishly. And obviously that's the case. If you're a person, man or woman, if you find yourself with a short fuse, oftentimes, as soon as that fuse gets down to the last bit, you may find yourself just blowing up and you act irrationally. And a lot of times you come to regret those decisions. So that's the way of the fool. So if that's you, maybe it's something you could work on. Let's look at, we'll go with verse 20. It says, "The poor is disliked even by his neighbor, but the rich has many friends." And this is another, it's true. It's true. So kind of the comparison, the contrast, really the message here, I should say this. The message here is that Proverbs really favors the wealthy. And by that, what I mean, not that, you're looked down upon, if you're not wealthy. But Proverbs does value wealth in the sense that generally speaking, again, Proverbs is not a book of promises, but generally speaking, hard work results in wealth and having enough. Whereas poverty is the result of the lack of hard work. Now, again, it's not a promise. These are just kind of in general, these are principles here. So the idea here is, and this is true, so maybe you have someone like this in your life, they're always asking for something, hey, can I borrow this? Or hey, can I borrow some money? Or hey, can I borrow your car or something like that? And they borrow it, and you get your car the next morning and it's got, like corn stalks in the grill, frustrating stuff. But really the idea here is that that person, the first a couple times, maybe they ask for something, it's like, hey, no problem. But eventually you're like, no. Like the person comes to the door and you're like, no, shut the lights off, everybody get down, we don't want them to know we're here. Or you see their number come across the caller ID and you're like, yeah, nope, that one's going to voicemail, and so you avoid them. But the rich, well, they have all kinds of friends because everybody wants to be their friend, right? So that's kind of the idea here. Let's look at the next one. I'll just look at 21. It says, whoever despises his neighbor is a sinner, but blessed is he who is generous to the poor. And so this one really kind of goes hand in hand with the last one, really, because, you shouldn't despise your neighbor, because they asked to borrow, a rake, or because they asked to borrow the lawnmower, or, whatever, a cup of sugar. You shouldn't despise them. You should love them. You should love your neighbor, regardless of whether they get on your nerves. Just love them. Always love them. And in Proverbs says, and blessed will be that person who is generous to the poor, or who is generous to their neighbor that is, seemingly always in need. Let's look at 23. So in all toil there is profit, but mere talk tends only to poverty. So in general, the business that you are always talking about but never acting upon, that business will fail 100% of the time, right? Mere talk tends only to poverty. Like if you just sit around talking about like, we should do this, or we should do that, or we should start a business and we should do this, that business will never succeed with you just sitting around the table talking about it. You'll never make a penny in profit. But Proverbs says here that all toil there is profit. So again, talking about hard work. So if you put the work in and you work hard, and so maybe you do talk around the table and you're like, hey, it'd be a good idea, but you don't stop there. You don't continuously talk around the table. You say that would be a good idea, and you go put it into action and you make a business out of it. Proverbs says that in general, there's going to be profit there. There's going to be profit, much more profit than those people that are just sitting around the table saying, oh, I wish, oh, this would be nice, or that would be nice. So there's that one. Let me just point out, 26, 27, they talk about the fear of the Lord. We've seen this a few different times in Proverbs. Obviously, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Proverbs 1:7, and we've talked about it more since then. This is really a popular theme in the Old Testament in general, especially when you start talking about the prophets. I think that's enough. Proverbs 14, read it, enjoy it, soak it in. It's great. We'll see you next time.